All right, so I wanted to share with you guys a story about a time when I first got out of the military. I was homeless, and I guess I would call it the Judah and Tamar experience, where I was like Judah, and there were some people that were like Tamar, and you never know how God is going to humble you. If you know the story of Judah and Tamar, it's about a story of a religious leader who was Judah, who was pretty self-righteous, and he was humbled by a Gentile, I think a Canaanite woman. And according to their own beliefs, she was probably not a good woman to be with, but she had married one of Judah's sons, and God killed him because essentially he was evil. And then the second son was supposed to marry her and or give her children, but he did some bad stuff and God killed him next. And then Judah said basically, wait till my next son or was old enough and I'll give him to you. And essentially this people believe there's a lot of dogma surrounded by Tamar that whoever is with her is going to die because she's evil, and there's this pessimism about her and stuff, and the opposite could be true. And later on, after it was a time for her to be married, essentially she heard that Judah was, I guess, shearing sheep somewhere. And she went up and acted like a prostitute and put on a veil and stuff so he couldn't tell who it was. And so he basically paid for a night to sleep with this woman, Tamar. And then she became pregnant and had taken his staff as a pledge for payment from Judah. And so he didn't know, and she left. And then one day, Judah heard that Tamar was pregnant, and not knowing anything about the story, people were saying she played the harlot and got pregnant. And Judah was ready to kill her. And then they found out it was from Judah, and Judah got humbled real quick, like, right? And he eventually had to confess, she's more righteous than I am. Here's a religious leader who's supposed to be righteous, and he was humbled by Tamar, a Canaanite woman or a Gentile woman who wasn't of the faith. And there's virtually a similar things that happen today by Christians who think they're very righteous, and they find out that they're more wicked than some of the unbelievers, you could say, or by people who aren't so well educated in the faith. And so with my experience, um, when I first got out of the military, I wanted to go on this trip, or I felt called to go on this trip from Texas to, I was going to go to California. And so I first started out by car, and then at a rest stop, I was like, hey, I'm just going to walk, and I'm going to camp all the way there. And so when I first started out, I decided to not eat or drink for 3 days, just in case if I ever got stranded. I wanted to test and see how my body would react, if I could endure it, and this, that, and the other. So it was a pretty well trafficked road, and there's a lot of pit stops along the way, about, a mile or so in between. So about the third day, this is in Texas, I think it was in March or so, um, I was pretty thirsty and hungry and getting quite fainty. I could probably walk, I don't know, a few hundred yards before I'd start fainting, and I would have to stop and, kind of catch my strength back and then start walking again. And I found this bottle of water on the side of the road. And I was like, unopened. I'm like, wow, this is a miracle. And I stuck it in my pocket just in case if I needed it. And eventually, this car stopped. And in this area, I think it's illegal. It was illegal to pick up hitchhikers, one, because it's by the border, or it was because there was a prison nearby. So this car had compassion on me and knew I was pretty mangy, grungy looking beard, stinky, I'm like, I'm kind of humbled that someone actually stopped to care for me for a second. And the kind of people that picked me up were not the people I expected. I got in the car and it was three women in the car. They're dressed pretty modestly. And I was like, what do you guys do for a living? Or what are you doing? Like, and they told me they were strippers. I was like, it was pretty, I guess you could say, humiliating because I probably wouldn't have helped them. And I guess in such a dire circumstance and break the law even to help somebody like that. And they were just genuinely helping me to get to the next gas station. They offered me money to, get a hotel or whatever and get a shower, and I was like I gave them my Bible, but to me I had nothing of value to give to them because I had been so wretched and evil, and there's these basically strippers or prostitutes, or I guess whatever the right word you want to call them, were helping me. And God was teaching me a lesson that day. So I became eternally grateful for that experience. And you don't know how God is going to help you or humble you in the future. And I try not to, I guess, look down on anybody because you don't know their story. You don't know what God's doing through them. So that is my Judah and Tamar experience. It's kind of like the Good Samaritan law. And we have a lot of religious leaders who think that they're righteous and they're not. And they will try to impose consequences on you that aren't necessarily from God and act like they're God or the consequence of your mistakes, kind of like Judah was towards Tamar once he found out she had possibly played the harlot. So I guess that's my little sermon for today. If some of you can remember that we're all wretched, there's none righteous, no, not one. And my life has been more about trusting in God's grace and His mercy and His love, and it's nothing that I've ever done. Like, I'm worthless, completely worthless. The only thing that's good is God doing His mysterious work in me. So hopefully I can lift some of you up in the comfort of peace today and try to open your eyes to see things bigger than you normally do.